All right. Good morning, all. Well, Michelle's not with us today. She's in Oregon. She's going to see her great son, who's going to be in Reggae Rise Up. But we do have a really great guest today, Aspen Noonan. And you know, cannabis we don't really talk about a lot in the show, but today we are. You know, I grew up with cannabis, so that's how I think after 40, 50 years, I finally realized that cannabis was my gateway drug to the spirituality. But back then, they put me in drug rehabs for it. We've come a long way since then. So why don't we go ahead and introduce yourself, okay?
My name is Aspen Noonan. I am the CEO of Elevate Holistics. We do online medical marijuana cards. I have been in the cannabis industry for 6 years. I've been consuming cannabis much longer than that. So, depending on how you say in the industry, maybe I've been around for over a decade. But, this plant means so much to me because it personally saved my life. I grew up on prescription pharmaceuticals. I was on controlled substances throughout my childhood. And so when I found cannabis when I went to college, I realized the more I consumed cannabis, the less I would need my, prescriptions from my doctor. So I eventually weaned off of drugs completely. I don't take pharmaceuticals anymore, and I'm a plant advocate, and now I get to do it for my career, and now I get to talk about it with you today.
Yeah, cannabis saved my life too, but I didn't really realize that back then because, I'm probably more than half your age. So I probably back then it was really frowned upon. Cannabis was like, oh, it's the gateway drug. But for me, as I see it now, it really kept me off all the other drugs. You know, it I fell into a cycle of bad choices because, you know, other areas and other things, but cannabis was really, it's been in my life since then. It's in my life now. I just can't get it out of my life, and it seems to be part of my life. So
It's a
I'm gonna
journey.
just
It's
say,
a
okay.
journey. I get it.
Yeah.
There
So
are some
what
days
got
where
you
I'm
into all
like,
this?
what
Yeah.
what got me into it was just, my story. I thought, okay, if this can help me, I have ADHD, right? Like I wasn't dying of cancer. I didn't have any crazy illnesses going on that prevented me from living my day-to-day life. I literally just had ADHD. And if, medicine was impacting me so much, I thought, what is this doing for people that have actual PTSD, actual depression, anxiety, or, glaucoma, these things that cannabis can actually help? So I thought, this is what I want to do with my career. I went to Mizzou. I was getting a bachelor's at the time, and I talked with them about it. And I was like, how can I get a cannabis degree here? I know you guys don't offer it, but I want to make waves. Like, I want to make some change. And so I joined NORML, which is the National
Mhm.
Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. I became the president of that town's chapter within a few months. And that's kind of how I created this unique degree. I worked with the school and I worked with this organization to really just learn about health and wellness and advocate for cannabis and talk with lawyers and patients. And we eventually legalized through Amendment 19, Missouri medical marijuana. And so I was a really big part of that movement. Now I live in Florida because, beach, sunshine.
Yeah.
My career has, I was like, all right, I'm online now. So we do
And there's
telemedicine.
medical
I didn't
marijuana.
make it there. Yeah.
So we've come a long way with the cannabis, especially in the last, I would say, 5 years. I would say, am I right or wrong? Three quarters are probably legal right now, or at least medical, three quarters
Oh
of the
yeah.
states.
Oh yeah. Oh,
So,
definitely 75% of the country allows it medicinally. And then I would even say almost half is as recreational at this point.
yeah, we've definitely come a long way because the benefits are there. Kind of like with psychedelics. I mean, those people that were in the cannabis game for about 10 years, they're getting into the psychedelics because,
Yeah.
we see the benefits. The benefits are always there. And I don't know, really, I consider cannabis as a psychedelic. Definitely a plant medicine. Definitely great for ADHD. And I hate these words, but we have to classify them some way. But ADHD is a really good thing to have. I mean, we become creative with ADHD. We're not allowed to do these things. We're put on medications. So kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
I,
So
I ADHD, if you're a caveman, awesome. Like you are paying attention to everything. If there's a threat in your peripheral, you're going to hear it, you're going to see it, you're going to get distracted by it. But in a school setting where you have to sit in a desk 8 hours a day and learn the exact same
Mm,
math problems 6 weeks in a row, you don't thrive.
yeah. So you think that cannabis is affects men differently than it does women? Is there some benefits that men have over women?
I can't, speak for myself and I can't make medical
Hmm.
claims either, but I think it really does affect everyone differently. For me, having ADHD, cannabis helps me focus. Like I have tunnel vision, I can zone in, I can answer 50 emails in 20 minutes. But, my counterpart, my husband might consume cannabis and he's like gonna go eat a snack on the couch. We perform differently
Yeah.
under the influence of cannabis.
Hmm. Well, cannabis also, when you look at the psychedelic space per se, there is, I think, a 70-30. It's mostly women, 30%. But in this cannabis space, I think it's duly even. I don't think there's a majority. And what I do definitely see in the last few years is the alcohol consumption in the United States has definitely decreased. And I really contribute that to people being able to use cannabis because alcohol is a poison for sure.
I totally agree, and
Hmm.
it's safer. I think there's less risk. There's less risk at home. You don't find many people smoking a joint and getting angry or getting, just agitated in general. It's chill. So hopefully in 10, 20 years, we can see that same change with, I feel like where psychedelics are now is where cannabis was 20 years ago. And so maybe we'll continue to see that change. And what I'd love to see is the veteran suicide rates decrease with all the psychedelic movements and all of these big pushes for group therapies and psychedelics because 22 veterans are killing themselves a day to this day. It has
Right.
not gone down. And I think that that's, something needs to be done there. And psychedelics help from what I hear every single day.
They're our biggest gateway right now is the veterans. I mean, and what it's doing for them, not just psychedelics and I mean psychedelics in general. I mean, from psilocybin to iboga to 5-MeO to cannabis to all these plant medicines that really, really help our daily lives. So it's really interesting the area we're in right now because I don't think there's a lot of well, I don't think I know there's not a lot of trust in our old systems. They're really broken and especially our pharmaceutical companies they're really damaged because 10 years ago, so let's just say 20 years ago, brain on drugs, fried eggs, this cannabis is this. Now it's the best thing since sliced bread. So the lies have been there forever and just we haven't been able to study these medicines enough to really see the true value. And
Yeah.
this is kind of, in my eyes, it's just kind of been bred and ruined. It really ruined in a lot of states, because it's like high THC is not the answer. Like it really isn't the answer. I mean, it's
No.
the terpenes, and we can probably talk about that a little bit more. It's the terpenes and maybe the lower THCs that's really the answer to all these. But we have not studied these medicines far enough. So
They're still discovering new cannabinoids, CBG, CBN, THCA, and they're learning, okay, this one makes you more sleepy, this one makes you more awake. And this is coming out, every month. We're learning more about this plant and what it does for people in the endocannabinoid system, which still isn't taught in medical school, which is absolutely wild to me. It's an
wild, right?
entire part of our body and our
It's our
function.
nervous system,
It's
you
our yeah,
know?
yes, and if we're all
Yes.
stressed out and don't trust, the pharmaceutical companies, wouldn't they want to implement a stress
I know.
reducer? This is my theory, but
It's
I
not
don't
gonna
know.
make them money.
You mentioned the
No
alcohol
money.
business suffering with
Yeah.
cannabis legalization. I couldn't agree more. I think they absolutely are. People in my own circle are drinking less and consuming cannabis instead, and not even more. It's just kind of a replacement.
Alcohol is a poison, and I'll just stay there. It's just it's a promoted drug that is just so wild that it destroys so much. It
Yeah.
destroys so much. It's the gateway to everything. Cannabis was promoted as the gateway, but cannabis never made me go shoot heroin. Okay, alcohol would probably made me go shoot heroin. So
Oh my
it's
god.
just crazy.
And then, like,
Crazy.
the hangovers, like, you're the next morning after you drink, your body is
Depleted.
physically rejecting what
Yeah.
just happened the night before. Your liver is, like, on cloud 1. Your liver's like, "Please save me." And, yeah, I'm guilty. I usually forget how badly my body interacts with alcohol until I drink it, and then the next day, I'm like, I just filled with regret, and I don't find myself filled with regret after a day of cannabis consumption.
So at Elevate Holistics, what is your main goal, your main purpose? How do you get people?
How do I increase their quality of life? So,
Yes.
my goal at Elevate Holistics is to get 1 million people in America their medical cards. I think that getting your medical card increases access to high quality medicine as opposed to going on the black market. You have product
Mhm.
testing, you know the product's good, it doesn't have mold. These Delta 8 sometimes that are in gas stations, it's not great for our bodies. And if we're smoking or
No.
consuming something and being conscious of what we're putting in our bodies, let's do it the right way. So that's our goal, 1 million patients. We're almost at 200,000 patients. We do 100% online medical cards. So in 18 states, if you're comfortable with hopping on a 2-minute video chat call with one of our doctors, we have a 99% approval rate. So even if your state's conditions are very specific, our doctors are basically there to help you get access to plant medicine, or just at least to try it or come up with a treatment plan. So people, get nervous. Oh, what if I get too stoned or high? There are cannabis options that are non-euphoric. Like, you don't have
Wow.
to get stoned in order to feel all the benefits, all those anti-inflammatory properties. So that's where we come in. We educate, get patients legal, and then remind you when it's time to renew so there's never a lapse. And then the big question is, why would I need a medical card in a recreational state?
Mm.
It's the tax savings. In Arizona, every single cannabis purchase is taxed at 22%. In Missouri, 16%. If you go to the dispensary like twice a month, your medical card pays for itself very, very quickly and more money stays in your pocket. Therefore, you can buy more cannabis. So it just makes a lot of sense to do it legally. And that's, really what I advocate for.
Yeah. And I think also getting your card, especially with the older generation, because the older generation, the influx of cannabis users in the 60 and older, probably 20-fold, because now they trust the system so much. So, now they got this license, they got this card, and they can go explore. So, but educating them because, you know, like you say, you can get really too high off an edible. Like I don't think smoking inhalation it really can happen, but edibles will really they shift me, and I've been a 40-year cannabis user. So edibles will just hit you different. But sometimes edibles are a better way to go for a lot of people. Wouldn't they not be?
I totally agree. As someone with asthma, and I know a lot of people with emphysema and COPD, smoking's just not an option. So edibles are the option. And with smoking, you can slow down and stop and put it down. The edibles in your body. There's no going back. Even if
Mhm.
you can't even throw it up, right? It's metabolizing in
No.
your liver. So I always say, if you overdo it, undo it with olive oil or any fat. If you eat a really fatty meal, or I just take a shot of olive oil, the THC and all of those euphoric compounds will bind to that fat as opposed to yours, and you'll feel less
Yeah.
high. I just say, take a shot of olive oil and then go to sleep. You won't,
Huh.
it'll be over. It'll be over.
It's that anxiety that kicks up for most people, though.
Yeah,
So
and it's
you
like
can't do nothing.
paranoia. It's
Yeah,
paranoia.
it's crazy. It's crazy how that affects you so differently, like so different. And then
Yeah.
they have all these new compounds. So they have the wax and they have the butters, and kind of like you need to
1,000
educate on those
milligrams.
because those could be really helpful. But Rick Simpson oil, that's another fantastic, like,
Yes.
too much of that could really be sleepy time too. But I mean, that's what you want too. It's a very good sleep aid, RSO. It's really great for
Yes. Have
that.
you seen what RSO does for children mid-seizure? Have you seen how
Yes.
it's
Yes.
amazing? I
Yeah.
saw
I've
the
seen a lot of
video.
those.
They're
Just a
amazing.
little dot. Hmm.
Mid-seizure, and they like stop,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
illegal.
Why are we doing? Yeah.
Imagine you're a family with an 8-year-old that seizes once an hour, and you're going on a road trip to Kansas to visit
Yeah.
your other daughter that just moved to college and you can't get your medicine, or
Hmm.
that's horrible. Like
Yeah.
that's why I just think this should be available to everyone.
And it's almost instantaneous. I've seen the guys with Parkinson's and,
Yes.
it's just almost instantaneous. And it's really why we're not using this more and more. And like you say, when you can get your card too, your medical card instead of going black market, and then you can also jump into these CBD oils because those are really beneficial for you. So,
Yeah.
there's so much to learn here in this space. So you got any good, like patient reinforced great stories?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I can share my absolute favorite story. So I started at this role 6 years ago. My job was to take patient phone calls and fill out forms. There was one guy, the founder, and me, and it was just us two. And 6 years later, now I'm the CEO. So it's been quite a whirlwind. But this guy was super nervous about getting a medical card. Missouri had just legalized. He didn't know if he was ready. He said he slept maybe 2 hours a night for the past decade. So
Oh,
this guy had been in a motorcycle accident and paralyzed from the waist down. And I'm not going to claim like, or ever, he never even said it. Cannabis isn't going to make your legs work again. It's not going to get rid
yeah,
of cancer. It's not going to
right.
save your life. But it's this crutch that increases quality of life. And this guy,
Mhm.
he ended up getting his medical card. I convinced him, or I don't know. I talked to him about it and he
Yeah.
tried. He called me back like a month later, crying, like a 50-year-old guy crying that used to just be like a badass riding motorcycles. And he was like, all week I've spent at least 8 hours sleeping, and I'm nicer to my wife. I'm nicer to my kids. I feel happier to be alive. I don't want to, my depression's going away because I can sleep better. And it's just,
Mm,
when I was, freshly postpartum and losing sleep, you just really don't understand the value of a good night's sleep
was
until you
sleep.
don't have it anymore. And the fact that this guy was like, "Thank you so much for letting me try," I'll never forget it. And I hope he hears
Mm.
this.
Yeah, it's that fear though, the fear. Like why people fear that so much and because it's just been in infiltrated in our heads
Yeah,
for so long how cannabis is an evil entity. So crazy.
we're on
That's a great
drugs.
story. So yeah, we'll keep that guy rooted out. So how about in your personal life? What other holistical wellness do you do in your personal life?
I love this question. So I do cryotherapy. I am obsessed with cryotherapy. I have
Can we tell up a
in
little bit about that?
Yes. So cryotherapy is you freeze, basically. You can freeze two ways. You can step into a chamber and freeze your entire body. You can strip down to just your underwear, and it's about negative 120 degrees. And you just stand there for 1 to 3 minutes. It does so much for your energy levels. I think it does so much mentally, because if you can get a 120, negative 120-degree chamber, everything else that comes at you the rest of the day is pretty easy, because you're like, I just stepped into Russia for 2 seconds. And then there's also a chamber where you can go just body and keep your head above. I like the full body experience, but
Mhm.
I rarely drink caffeine now because of the cryotherapy. It just kind of wakes me up. There's nothing like a frigid temperature all over your entire body to wake you up in the morning. And I think it's just been so helpful, yeah, for my mental health, my energy levels. Apparently, it's good for weight loss and cellular rejuvenation. So, I'll try to like flash my mom bod. I'm like, all right, get these stretch marks. I don't know if it does anything, but the feeling is really good, and I love that.
Uh,
So I would say
I
cryo is my
hear.
favorite.
Is it kind of like ice baths, right? Very similar, but
Very
you don't have
similar.
to yeah, you don't have to sit in that water.
You don't have to sit in the water. I feel like it's a less shocking, because when you
Yeah.
get in water and submerge yourself, it's an immediate shock, and it gets easier. A cold plunge, it gets easier the longer well, not that much easier, but you kind of sit in it and it does warm up and you kind of like adjust. But cryo, you open the chamber, you step in, and it just gets harder, because the longer the doors close, the closer it gets to negative 120. And so it's a mental challenge. I blare some rock music, or maybe some Die Antwoord, some crazy EDM, and just kind of push through.
There you go. So This is a really difficult, well, it used to be a difficult space, but what are your obstacles right now? What do you see as an obstacle? I can tell you in the psychedelic space, it's payment processors and banks. I
Yeah.
mean, that's it. If we had that open reign, if somebody could do that, we'd be ticket to the heavens.
It's
So
cash
what's
when
your
it's
biggest
cash based,
obstacle?
it's sketchy. Well,
Yeah,
so in
yeah.
the cannabis space, when banking was an issue like 5 years ago, we went to credit unions. I don't know if you've explored
Hmm.
that, but credit unions was kind of where we found the happy medium because they're members of the FDIC, but they're not necessarily under this, you know, government jurisdiction to where they can't like support scheduled drugs. So maybe that could be a workaround for you guys. I'm not sure. My current obstacle is advertising. All of our patients, almost 200,000 people, which is amazing, is through word of mouth. We can't advertise on Instagram without being shut down. Facebook, you know, X, we could probably do, but patients really are on there. Google, we can't Google advertise without getting banned or shut down with the account. So billboards in a lot of states are not an option. So I would just say the marketing
Marketing. Mm.
marketing ads, it's very very tough space in the cannabis industry, and I imagine psychedelics too.
Yeah.
And so yeah, word of mouth, and then a really big push we've been doing this past few years is partnerships with dispensaries. So we'll partner with dispensaries that already have a good amount of patients, and when it's time for their renewals, or if they ever get a new customer inquiring about purchasing product with them but they're not legal, we want to have each location be like a reliable source. Okay, here's a reliable doctor. It's going to be fast, same day appointments, 99% approval rate, money back guarantee if you're denied. Just someone they can refer to, and that's been actually amazing for us in Louisiana, West Virginia, Missouri, Oklahoma specifically. So dispensaries, if you if you
Locations too, wouldn't you think? Like Cannabis Now or something like that?
yeah, so like PR.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done PR, and whenever we have new exciting things happening, we definitely try to get a press release out, but on a weekly, daily basis, I'm like,
Isn't it terrible? I know
yeah,
it's terrible how they silence us, isn't it? And for
yeah,
what gain? For what purpose? It's so bizarre. I mean, you've been in this space a little bit longer, but being in this space for this time and cannabis fits right in is the regulations are just silly.
and they're
They're just
different.
silly.
They're different for
Mhm,
every state. So what I do in
mhm.
Louisiana, I cannot do in Missouri, and I definitely can't do in Oklahoma or
So what do you have to
Texas.
LLC in every state?
Yes.
Hmm. So
And
you
we
have to
have
have a
to do
structure or a PO box in every state.
Yep, yep. We have to do
Hmm.
income based on each state for taxes. We do basically our SOPs need to be revised every month based off law changes. So for example, in Texas, in 4 days, they're going to expand chronic pain. So right now they only have cancer, epilepsy, very like 9 very specific illnesses. When they open chronic pain on September 1st, we're going to change all of our forms so patients can select that. Our doctors can now approve for that. We need to change around our so it's just a lot of change all the time, and no two states are the same. No two approval processes are the same. Um, in West Virginia, you have to actually apply with the state as a patient after you see the
Hmm.
doctor. Well, we can do it for you if you want, but you go on to the state and you do your
Yeah.
application in Texas and Louisiana. You see the doctor and you go shop. That's it. So it's so different for everywhere, and us staying on top of that and being able to pivot with a change keeps us standing in this industry. And the people that can't pivot get weeded out.
Yeah. Are you part of Florida Green or no?
I am not a part of Florida organizations because they don't allow telemedicine for medical cards unless they have a
Okay.
bona fide relationship. So although I live here, I don't do business here. I do like women networking, empowerment things, but nothing cannabis specific.
So telemeds, huh? That's how you're doing all this, is
Yeah.
telemeds.
Yeah, 100% online. So
Hmm.
we don't have a single brick and mortar anywhere in the country.
That's really, that should be more enticing to people. And why would a person get denied for this medicine? It's like a
That's a great
99%
question.
approval. Mhm.
Yeah. So that 1% is very, very specific. But let's say you're pregnant. The doctor is going to say, call me back in a month. They don't want that liability. Or you could say, hey, I actually won't even get my card for another 60 days and then I'm not going to breastfeed. Okay, they might actually issue it. So it's always a conversation, but there are certain disqualifying conditions. Another one could be schizophrenia. If you're not managing it outside of cannabis, that might be a red flag. Like if your only source of, if you're not doing therapy, if you're not doing, structure outside of just, I'm going to smoke a lot of weed, the doctor might be like, oh, okay, let's talk about that. Let's come up with some other
Mhm.
solutions. So those are
Right.
some potential disqualifiers.
There you go. So what do you think the key is to federal legalization? What do you
That is
think?
cash. Who is gonna
Mm.
who is gonna have the most amount of money to pay for this to happen? I do think cannabis will be rescheduled. I
Do you think
also
Trump will do it? You think he'll do it?
no.
You know?
No, I don't think so. I think
Mm.
that he really believes in states' decisions.
He-
So, like, whether or not he agrees with something like cannabis, for example, I think he wants to leave it up to the state because he's
Why
such
don't
like
they why don't they schedule it down and then they
that's what
can
I'm
be up to the
thinking.
states?
I
Hmm.
think they will. I think they'll move it from Schedule 1 to 3, and then I think they're gonna leave it up to the states because, I mean, even as an American, you should have the right to choose. Like, if I don't wanna smell cannabis every day and I don't wanna see it at stores, I don't want my kids to even know about it, I'm gonna move to the middle of nowhere, Kansas, where it's highly illegal and you'll go to jail for an ounce of weed. If I do wanna smell it every day and I want it to be a major part of my life, I'm gonna go to Colorado, and you have
Hmm.
that right. But I would say for any president just to blanket say it's legal everywhere, you can
Hmm.
fly with it, you can do this with it. That's I mean, that would be bold. That would piss off a lot of people.
I wish it would happen. Because there should be no reason these plants should be illegal.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Absolutely not.
Or even so, like the descheduling, like we shouldn't be in jail for it. We should be able to get a medical card and shop at a place where you only need a medical card to purchase. It's not like your kids are just going to walk in this store. So I don't know. I think it's the reason I say no for Trump is just it's such an exciting thing for everyone to talk about. But is
Yeah.
it actually going to happen? I just feel like the risk they take on is so great.
Yeah.
I don't know. But as an American,
Everybody's more concerned about Cracker Barrel logos. So
yeah, I literally can't.
so let's plug your company. Let's plug your company one more time before we go. Let's tell you who we're all about, where we could find you, and we'll get all your handles and social medias out. So tell us a
Yes.
little bit more, Aspen.
All right, 100% online medical cards, 18 states, 99% approval rate. If you want to get legal online at a great price, hit us up. I am very, very passionate about this. It's changed my life. I hope it changes others. I would love to hear more amazing stories about how it just, cannabis increases the quality of people's lives, whether that's legally or not, depending on where you live. Follow us on our Facebook group, be a part of our community, Elevate Holistics. You can follow us on Instagram, elevate.holistics. You can follow me on LinkedIn, Aspen Noonan. I post cannabis law updates. I post, basically, I'm a resource for the cannabis industry if you ever want to learn about it or get into it. And then this is the first time I'm plugging it, but I just started a new Instagram account. It has like 40 followers, so maybe go give it some love. But I'm
There
gonna
you
post
go.
about what it's like. It's I'm that CEO girl. I'm gonna talk about being a 27-year-old CEO and what that's like, and in those glass ceilings that I get to fly through and follow the journey.
Yeah. This isn't an easy space, and congratulations. It's been a very informative conversation. And the best thing I think you do is the telehealth on the telemeds on the
Yeah.
front. I think that's great. Great
Yeah.
conversation today, Aspen. We'll get this out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.